Back to School. Moments of Light with Toro the Decoder. I had never been a good student going through normal and formal school education, but it changed a bit when I entered a physical education college, which was of interest to me. Homeschooling in those days was out of the question, but it was sports and organizing events that got me through that first stage of education. Sport and fitness became my life and profession, but when at one point in time my body started to fall apart, I didn't realize straight away that there was an education missing. My personal condition and collected knowledge was very limited and just a fraction of a bigger education and source of knowledge. All education had been about making a living, but I didn't know how to live, or in other words, didn't know how to take care of me, others, and the world, because each action, a thought, word, or action would have an effect on it all. It took another 2 years before I realized this, but this realization came through another source of education I had missed out on, and which was linked to the soul science, also called the science of the soul self and God realization, the base of all education and knowledge. I thought I had found the master teacher and teachings regarding these matters, but he connected himself to me, or better said, to the soul within me, and although these teachings were shared through the spoken and written word, the real teachings or education came from within. In addition to this inner science of the soul, which is a personal inner experience and which cannot be shared through words, I felt that I had entered an inner magical university. Thus I entered something bigger than my limited education and knowledge, which was linked to the familiar mind. It felt like an imaginary world and started to play my heart out with fantasy, and story after story revealing deep hidden messages came to the surface. I created fantasy characters that was a team of 32 faculty members representing the indisputable laws of guidance of Creator, universe and nature. It became about documenting, interconnection maps and many other tools that would be my practical help in any situation. This was the source called the universal mind, and which had all information inside regarding the creation, all that was possible inside it. It is the source of the unfamiliar, where all new things come from. This was the source where all great inventors, musicians, artists, and philosophers tap into. So, I had this soul science that was connected to inner silent prayer and meditation, following my master teacher, leading an ethical life, following a vegetarian diet, no drugs, alcohol, and nicotine on one hand. On the other hand, I had the magical university of life, as I named it, and experiencing life through the eyes of my inner child, having 32 coaches or 32 different angles to look at things and situations, stories and conversations, and an additional 52 ways depicting every aspect of daily living, and endless other practical tools. Talking about feeling guided, this would be an ongoing inner and outer education, an inner and outer science that was infinite. And each time during all these stages of learning, or better said relearning, or education, or better said re-education, a knowledge that lays within all of us, realizing that I didn't know anything. There were always challenges that could not be assisted completely with the information I had received. In other words, there was something else, something bigger, something above the universal mind, a source of knowledge and education that had all the answers. This came to me at a time and situation that the only thing to do was to accept myself, others and situations for what they were, and had to surrender and wait. Yes, even reflecting, looking at that moment from 32 angles and having so many other ways to assist was not enough. It became about total acceptance and surrendering, sitting in meditation and doing the meditation while being busy in and with life inside my mind. Here, everything started to reverse itself, and the gaining of more knowledge and busy with and within the mind became about emptying the mind and being inside something that is the source of all knowledge. This was about feeling total helpless and being total dependent on that divine source and accepting all as his will. All comes from that source, is connected to that source, and all our gifts, as nothing can ever be mine anyway. So there was the infinite knowledge and infinite education, or better said, discovery of the mortal creation, a source that lays within our mind, but that was nothing compared to the source of knowledge itself, that which created the mortal creation, the body and the mind. This was the ultimate knowledge, education and rediscovery, for all and everything comes forth from that divine source. It is something that cannot be described and is beyond words, for it is not from the mortal world and knowledge of the mind, but from the level of the soul, that is particle of the divine. We, the mortal self, with a body and mind, can tap into this universal mind, or as I had called it, the magical university of life. But the knowledge from above and beyond had nothing to do with me, nor could I tap into it. This knowledge was inside the soul or spirit within, and accessible only for the soul itself. And this, following the teacher and teachings, was an education to get me out of the way. It was a moment-to-moment retraining the mind to not tap into the limited knowledge of the familiar mind or the universal knowledge of the universal mind, but to get rid of all memory of both of them, to get out of the way and to free the soul within. This education was to be done by following the instructions of my teacher and changing the mind's live streaming track out with an inner prayer and meditation track. Another part of this education was to tap into the eternal light and sound stream through which everything was created and is sustained, and to let that stream clean all memory of the self, the mortal body, mind and world. Only after this entire process the soul would self-realize itself and merge back into the source of all wisdom and knowledge, the divine, or any other word we have given to this in order to refer to it.